I'd like to invite all the children to come on down. We'll sit down here by my chair so we can talk about this Christmas story. Wow, everybody is all dressed up tonight. It's a special night. It's Christmas Eve. I can't believe it's Christmas Eve already. Christmas, I think, has a way of sort of sneaking up on us. But the good thing is that, ready or not, we're here. A few more people coming in. Well, Christmas, more than anything else, we want to be together. We want to be home with our family, right? Everybody wants to be home for Christmas. And that's because God made us to be together with one another. So God is actually the one who calls us home at Christmas. So in the gospel story we heard, Joseph is coming home because he was from the house of David. So he's going home to David's hometown, which David, when he was a boy, he grew up in the city of Bethlehem. Well, the emperor, of course, wanted to count all the people, and so he made all the poor people travel so he could count them. But God decided that was the perfect time to sneak in, and nobody would notice. So Mary also went with Joseph, right? We heard Mary came, and she was going to have a baby. And so when they got there, she gave birth to her baby, and she wrapped him. You can see he's all wrapped up in swaddling clothes. And she laid him in a manger, which is a feeding trough. But right now she's holding him, as we put her here next to Joseph. So, a new baby. Can you imagine? Can you remember what it's like? Anybody have a new baby in their house? Some of you, a new baby. Babies don't know anything, do they? And they can't do anything for themselves. They can't talk yet. And I mean, they have to do Christmas, and they're not even ready. They have to learn everything. So can you imagine God came like that, to be like a helpless baby? Couldn't do anything for himself. We had to do for him. So God came vulnerable. Can you remember the first time? How far back can you remember Christmas? Can you remember Christmas last year? Can you remember the Christmas before that? No, some of you. Some of us can remember Christmases way back, long time ago. What's the first thing you remember hearing about Jesus? What was the first thing you heard about Jesus? What did you hear? He was born on Christmas, right? That was one of the first things we learned about Jesus, isn't it? He was born on Christmas. So Christmas, Christ is in that name, in the word Christmas. Yeah. What do you know about? So there was no room for him in the inn, so he wasn't welcome, right? So we learned that about Jesus. Yeah.
He was born in this little barn in a manger.
Right, so they put a manger as a feeding trough. So he was with the animals. It might actually have been in the lower part of the house where the animals stayed. Yeah. His parents were poor, so they didn't have much, or they didn't have money. They weren't part of the mighty people. They were part of the poor and lowly. And he died on Good Friday, and then he was raised from the dead on Easter Sunday. So even at Christmas we remember that story, because that's part of the whole story about Jesus. Yeah. The three kings came. Yeah, we'll tell that part of the story. I'm going to sneak that in too. Yeah, it's I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. Okay. So, so we have all those things we learned about Jesus, and when we hear those things, when we hear something exciting, something wonderful, why, we just want to tell everybody about it, don't we? We want to tell others about the good news that happens. Like if you get something that you really, really want for Christmas, you won't be able to wait tomorrow morning to tell you might go house to house and tell all the neighbors, guess what I got for Christmas? So, God, too, feels just like that. God wants everyone to know that He loves us so much that He sent His own Son into the world. So God sent an angel into the world, because angels are messengers for God. See, this angel is just shouting this good news. And Christmas, of course, is a big announcement. And so, because it's news, that means somebody has to tell us the news. Somebody has to bring the news to us. So who did the angels bring the news to? Who did the angels bring the news to? No, there was somebody else. There was some people. You remember? Well, Mary and Joseph already knew. Let's see if I can help you out here. What is this? Who is this? It's a shepherd. So there were shepherds keeping watch with their flocks by night in the fields. And so they had their sheep with them there. And they came to tell the shepherds that the good news that Jesus was born in the city of David. And it's a really good thing that these were smart shepherds. And they knew their Bible really well. Because if they hadn't known their Bible, they might have gone to Jerusalem, which is really the city of David. But instead, they thought, well, you know, Jesus is poor and lowly. He's not going to be born in the big city, the capital city, like Jerusalem, where the mighty king lives. He's going to be born in a little place, like the little town of Bethlehem. So they were smart shepherds. And they went not to the city of David, but to the city where David was born as a little boy before he became king. And he's the one who moved the capital to Jerusalem. So the shepherds went to Bethlehem to see Mary and Joseph and the baby. Of course, they brought their sheep with them, and I think there's a little goat that came along. And then, of course, after the angel, there's also a star. Here we have a whole bunch of stars. And so just like the angels tell the story to the shepherds, the stars tell the story to the whole world. In fact, even heaven, like we sing in the carol, heaven and nature sing. So the star announces to all of nature. That's why we have animals at the manger. So what animals do you think were at the manger? What animals do you have in your house at the manger? Well, we have the sheep, of course. What other animals are there? A camel. Yes, we have a camel. First, though, I was going to bring an ox. I have a donkey. This is the donkey, right? Donkey. And, here. What were you going to say? You have a cow? Yeah, well, we have a cow too. Yeah. I think it's an ox. But yeah, cows. Because the donkey and the cow eat out of the manger. So we know that that's why they're there. And yes, in fact, there's even a camel. I wonder how that got there. Yeah, I wonder. It's the three kings' camels. So that must mean the three kings are on their way if the camel's here already. Okay. Well, everyone comes to look at the baby's face. And when they see the baby's face, they know that Jesus is the face of God. And Jesus is just like the shepherd who, when one of his sheep gets lost, he goes out in search of the one lost sheep. And when he finds it, he picks it up and rejoices and carries it home. So I think the little lamb might have been the first one that Christmas night who woke up and saw the star and heard God's voice calling in the wind. Let's listen and see if we can hear what the little lamb heard. Said the night wind to the little lamb, do you hear what I hear?
Do you see what I see?
Way up in the sky, little lamb, do you see what I see?
Do you see what I see?
A star, dancing in the night with a tail as big as a kite. With a tail as big as a kite. Said the little lamb to the shepherd boy, do you see what what I hear?
Do you hear what I hear?
Ringing through the sky, shepherd boy. Do you hear what I hear?
Hear what I hear?
A song, high above the trees, with a voice as big as the sea. With a voice as big as the sea. Said the shepherd boy to the mighty king, do you know what I know? In your palace warm, mighty king, do you know what I know? A child shivers in the cold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Said the king to the people everywhere, listen to what I say. Pray for peace, people everywhere. Listen to what I say. A child, sleeping in the night, he will bring us goodness and light.